Hello everyone, how's it going, and welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of the brand new items that came to Wild Rift this patch, Sundered Sky. I'm going to be talking about the base stats, the build path, and also the passive. And then I'm going to be talking about some champions that I feel like this item is going to be core with their builds. There are plenty of different champions that are going to work really well with this item, and I feel like this is going to be one of the strongest items in the game with this patch. First, let's take a look at the stats and the item itself. You can see everything on screen. So for the base stats, the total price is 3,000 gold, which is the same price as Black Cleaver, and also the stats are very similar to Black Cleaver as well. 40 attack damage, 15 ability haste, and 300 maximum health. So you can compare this item very well with Black Cleaver, and also the champions that use Black Cleaver are also going to use Sundered Sky extremely well. Now, with this item being only 3,000 gold, this is going to be a very strong early game item, a very strong cheap item to go in the early game. You get a decent amount of attack damage, the ability haste is all right, and then you get the extra maximum health on top of that as well. This means it's going to work incredibly well with a lot of AD bruisers that want a little bit of power during the early game. As for the build path, we have two tier 2 items, Corefield's Hammer and also Joram's Fist, with 700 gold being the combined cost to get to Sundered Sky. For the build path, I think it's a really nice build path as well. Both Warhammer and Joram's Fist are really good tier 2 items, really good bruiser items that can also build into other items as well. So if you feel like you don't want to go for Sundered Sky, if you want to adjust your build and go for another item, there are plenty of other items that you can go with these tier 2 items. So again, another big plus side to this build. And for the passive, we have Light Shield Strike. The first attack against an enemy champion will critically strike, dealing 160% damage and restoring health to you. This passive is extremely powerful, very powerful. The big difference with this passive and something like First Strike, for example, is that you do not need to be the first one to deal damage. It's just the first attack on an enemy champion. So this is going to work really well on champions that want to dash in, champions that want to deal a lot of damage, and also champions that have gap closers as well. Since they can go into range, they can deal the extra critically strike damage with the extra 160% bonus. This is why I feel like this item is going to be core, especially in the early stages of the game. This is probably going to be a first item rush item as well, meaning that you're going to be seeing this a lot on a lot of junglers that want to try and get a lot of burst damage during the early stages of the game. Remember that the passive does say first attack against an enemy champion, not first ability, so you need to actually auto attack to get this off. That's why I was talking about champions that have gap closers, which I'll talk about in a second. And also you being able to restore health is also really nice. Now, on the PC League version of this item, if you do have a maximum health, then what happens is you get a little bit of a health bonus, like a bonus health for a short period of time. However, it doesn't say on this item for Wild Rift, so it's going to be a little bit interesting to see whether this item is going to give you that little bit of bonus health if you're already full HP, because some of the champions that I'm going to be talking about in a second are going to be pretty much the first person to deal damage in a team fight. So you're already going to be full HP, so the restoring health might not happen as much. The big reason why this item is going to be so strong is the critically strike and also the 160% bonus damage. Now, for the first champion I want to talk about with this item is going to be Vi. This is going to be an extremely core strong item for Vi, and that she's going to rush straight away as a first item. She works really well with all of the base stats, the attack damage, the maximum health. The build path, as I mentioned before, is really powerful. And since Vi has a lot of gap closers, she's able to proc the Light Shield's passive multiple times during a team fight. You have your first ability to gap close. You also have your ultimate. When you use your ultimate on an enemy champion, you're just going to lock yourself on there, which gives you time to auto attack afterwards. So you're always going to guarantee to get an auto attack after you use your ultimate, which if you think about the other items that you can build with Sundered Sky as well, things like Trinity Force, things like Steric's Gauge, you're going to be getting a lot of attack damage and also a lot of maximum health as well for you to deal a lot of damage, be a carry, but also be a bit tanky as well at the same time. So when you're using your ultimate into a fight, dealing that extra critical strike damage, you can restore that little bit of health if you are low on health, or you can also just tank a lot more health since you have the extra HP thanks to Sundered Sky. Another champion that has gap closers, and again, this is probably going to be a first item for as well, is Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao already has a pretty strong, powerful build already, where you're going for the likes of Trinity Force, Death Stance, Twin Guard, all of these items. But again, this is another core item that he's going to build as a first item. Again, another champion that works really well with the base stats, with the attack damage and the maximum health. And since with Xin Zhao, you can use your second ability and then your third ability afterwards to jump into melee range. And again, when you jump into melee range, you're pretty much always guaranteed to get an auto attack off. And even if you don't, then you can still try and knock up champions with your first ability when proccing on minions first, and then you can get that extra bit of damage. With this on top of your ultimate, on top of the phase rush, which has been very popular at the moment in the current meta, it's super easy for Xin Zhao to stick on enemy champions, deal a bunch of damage, and also able to restore health, and again, be a bit tankier as well thanks to base stats of Sundered Sky. And for the last champion that I want to highlight with this item, it's going to be Viego. Again, another champion that's going to be using this as a core item. I only have 3 champions in this video, but as I mentioned, there are going to be probably so much more that are going to build this item. Lee Sin is another one that's probably going to build this item. Hecarim as well. Riven can even build this item. There are so many champions that can build this item, but these are the 3 champions that I wanted to highlight since I 100% know it's going to be a core first item with their builds. Now with Viego, he has his second ability again, which is able to root, able to stun, and also allows Viego to auto attack within melee range. Again, you have a lot of burst damage as well, since after you use an ability, you can double auto attack and deal a bunch of damage. That doesn't mean it's going to crit 2 times with Viego's passive, it's only going to crit once. But again, you got the attack damage, you have the base health, you have the extra restore on the HP as well. And with Viego, you're always going to be jumping around using your ultimate, taking away the souls, and auto-attacking different champions on the enemy team. That means that you're going to make full use out of the 6-second cooldown, per target, meaning that you can auto-attack one champion, take their soul, and then jump onto another champion with your ultimate. And again, you're going to be critically striking every single champion that you hit first. So for example, if there's an Alistar in front of you, if you auto attack that champion, you're going to get the extra crit damage. Then 1 second later, the Caitlyn might walk up into range of you. You can flash forward and deal critical damage to that Caitlyn as well. So this is 6-second cooldown per target. It's not just a general 6-second cooldown. Per target means you can proc this multiple times within a few seconds on multiple targets on the enemy team. So again, with Viego's gap close, with how Viego works as a champion with a bruiser, I do know that Viego's crit build is pretty strong at the moment as well. But again, I feel like with this item being added into the game, it's going to go back to this bruiser Viego with the likes of Trinity Force, this item, and other items as well. So this is going to allow Viego to do a bunch of damage again with the crit strikes, and also being able to restore a little bit of health. And that's all the highlighted champions. As I mentioned, there are many different champions that you can build this item for. Let me know down below in the comments if you feel like there are other champions that maybe I missed out in this video, or champions you feel like this item will work extremely well on. Again, as always, I'm going to be updating my website, Wild Rift Fire, to get this all these builds up to date and make sure everything is all good. So if you want to check that out, link is down in the description. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow where we're going to be taking a look at Eclipse. Take care.